The life. Making money whilst doing literally nothing. Oh! Another 1,000. Oh! Another 1,000. Wake the hell up. This kind of life doesn't exist unless you've already got a significant amount of money. This kind of life is possible, but not first without learning the 3 steps that I'm going to take you through in this video to create truly passive residual income. Now, this kind of life does exist, but not first without learning the 3 steps I'm going to share with you in this video to create truly passive residual income. And I mean that you really can make money without doing anything at all. But first, there are some things that need to happen. And that's what I'm going to teach you, and that's what I'm going to share with you in this video to give you a shot at creating truly passive residual income. So join me over on my whiteboard where I'm going to share with you how I've created and achieved financial freedom by age 27, learning these 3 simple steps. That's right, I've got multiple hundreds of thousands of dollars literally just sitting in my investment accounts, paying for my lifestyle, giving me truly residual passive income. And I'm going to teach you exactly how I did that today. But before I do, if you want more free actionable advice and guidance that's going to help you create extra income in your expat life, then I highly recommend you hit subscribe, you hit the like on this video, and you leave me a comment below. And without further ado, let's dive into the 3 steps that you need to take to create truly passive residual income living abroad. So passive income, the first thing that I want to do is actually define what passive income actually means, because there's a lot of people, a lot of confusion around what passive or residual income really means. And when people are looking into starting their own business, this term passive and residual income comes up time and time again from frankly clueless people who don't even know what it means. So passive or residual income means an income that happens without you physically doing anything, as opposed to the typical income that you may have right now, or you may really be looking to build, and that's an income off your own back that still involves actively doing some work. So passive or residual income, and what I'm going to walk you through here, the 3 steps of how to truly create, or how to create truly passive and residual income. I'm going to walk you through these steps, and that's making money without actually doing anything. Now, of course, there are 3 steps that need to happen for you to actually build passive or residual income. I'm just going to refer to it as passive income for the sake of this video. Now, step 1, step 2, and step 3 are 3 steps that you can follow to implement this stuff into your life to create passive residual income. Now, at the end of this video, I'm going to introduce you to a way that you can create active income, and you can have a control of how much income that you actually bring in now without doing the kind of typical expat job that you're probably doing right now. Because having an active source of income, and as we move into the 3 steps, this will make even more sense, having an active source of income is incredibly important to being able to create passive residual income. You can't create passive residual income if you don't first have an active way of making an income. So for those dreamers who are looking for, a magic pill, a flick switch of how to make money without actually doing anything, spoiler alert, it doesn't exist. But in this video, I'm going to take you through the 3 steps that you can follow to actually work towards creating that later on in your life. So step number 1, as you can see here, is being cash flow positive. And what I mean by that is, you have an active income source that is paying you, or that is making you more than you're actually spending each month, right? It's to have cash coming in that doesn't all just go straight out, and having some left over that you can actually put into investments that are going to give you in the long term passive residual income. And step number 2, I'm going to cover the 2 ways, the only 2 ways really, that you can actually create passive residual income. But step number 1 is first having a positive cash flow coming into your life. And that has to be done for 99.9% of people. That positive cash flow has to be created by, first of all, finding and having an active source of income. And that active source of income has to be more than you actually spend to sustain your life. Hence what we mean when I say cash flow positive. Now, if you don't have a positive cash flow coming into your life, again, stick around to the end of this video because I'm going to introduce you to the best method that you can use as an expat to create positive cash flow in your life. Regardless of whether you're teaching English or whatever you're doing, this is a way that's going to get you positive cash flow and get you that step number 1 of the 3 steps. Now, without positive cash flow, it's literally virtually impossible to create truly passive residual income because money makes money. And first of all, in order to have a residual passive income coming in, you need to actually have money in the first place. Now, if you don't have a way of increasing the amount of money that you have in savings or in an investment, especially in the investments that I'm going to talk about in step number 2, then it's virtually impossible to create truly passive residual income. So the first thing you need to learn and focus on is creating, in step number 1, creating a system or a process of giving you positive cash flow. That might be from your day job, that might be from a side hustle, that might be from starting your own business. But one thing's for certain, you need to have more money coming in than what is going out. Now, step number 2 is once you've obviously created positive cash flow in step number 1 and you've got more money coming in than what's going out each month, you're going to be left with some leftover change. You're going to be left with cash that now you need to know what to do with it, right? And that is step number 2, identifying a suitable investment that's actually going to give you truly passive or residual income. And there are only really 2 realistic vehicles for you to use, and I know this because I'm actively doing these investments, and I'm going to talk you through the 2 options that you have. The first one is the stock market. Right? The first one is putting the money that you have coming in that's not going out, that's left over, into an investment like the stock market. And I personally use something called a managed fund. So I basically put the leftover money at the end of each month that I have into a managed fund in the worldwide stock market. So it's spread across multiple countries and literally across the world. And somebody else does that for me, and they take a very, very small percentage of the growth on those accounts. Now, this is how, I've been fortunate to build up multiple 6 figures in passive residual investments that are bringing me in enough to cover now, to be financially free, to cover my living costs. And I've only been able to do that by finding the right investment for me, and that was the stock market. Now, there's another option which I'm just getting involved in, which I don't know as much about, and that is option number 2 of creating passive residual income is property. And this is a more common one, and one that people typically get into more because it often has a higher yield on your money, but it's not, in my opinion, totally passive or residual, because you still, unless you hire, a company to manage the property, there's still work to be done. You still have a tenant, you still have somebody who you have to keep happy, right? So you, in essence, when you get into property, you still have an active part. Many people actively manage their own properties. Now, it's still a great idea and a good investment because it means you put your residual money left over into a property, into a physical building, and you rent that out to somebody and they pay you, for the use of that premises. Yields can potentially be higher than the stock market, meaning that you need less cash to put into those investments to get you to that point of financial freedom. But those are really your 2 options. I'm not going to go into a huge amount in property investing because I don't know a huge amount about it yet. It's something that I'm learning and I'm just starting to get actively involved in. But those are your 2 options. Number 1 is the stock market, number 2 is property. These are the only 2 realistic ways that you're going to be able to create passive residual income in your life as an expat. There obviously are more, but these are the 2 main realistic ways that you can actually aim for. So step number 1 is to create positive cash flow. Step number 2 is to then pour those leftover cash that you have at the end of each month into an investment that's going to give you a truly passive, truly residual income, stock market property. And step number 3, and this is a simple trick that most people who are shooting for passive and residual income coming in miss, and that's compound. That's compounding out what you already have to give you a bigger and bigger and bigger yield each year. And what I mean by compound is that rather than taking the profit out of your investments each year, and rather than just sitting back on the investments that you already have, it's to continuously build more and more and more positive cash flow so you can pour more and more and more into investments so that your results, so that your return, your passive residual income is going to compound out. Now that can be done through continuing to create and build positive cash flow. So the more money you make here, the more money goes into here, and naturally the more your money is going to compound out, and the faster you're going to get to that holy grail of financial freedom, meaning the residual and passive income that you have exceeds that of what your lifestyle actually costs, right? Meaning, you know, you can choose to do what you want, when you want, where you want, without having to answer to anybody. And that's ultimately what we all want, right? But this one is a simple trick that most people miss, and they get blindsided by living on or taking out of their investments. Now, one of my philosophies is, you know, I pump literally hundreds of thousands of pounds and dollars into my investments each year because I have a business that gives me very, very positive cash flow. Again, I'm going to link you to some resources that you can use to create your very own business like me in digital advertising to give yourself positive cash flow. And I use that positive cash flow to pump into investments, and I use the income from those investments to compound out those investments. So those investments grow and grow and grow and grow. And naturally, you know, I'm 27 years old right now, but naturally, you know, by the time I'm even 28, 29 at this rate, I'm going to have, you know, not far off 100 grand a year coming in without physically doing anything. And this is the true way of creating wealth through passive or residual income. Now, most people come into it with a mindset of, I want to make money. Now, most people come into it with a mindset of, I want to make money without doing anything. When people are looking for passive residual income, this is the problem, that most people's mindsets are broken, and they're looking for a way of creating passive residual income without doing anything, without realizing that, first of all, to actually get to having passive residual income, you need to have positive cash flow. You need to have a way of making money actively that's going to give you more money than what your life actually costs to live it. Now, without having this simple understanding of how passive residual income actually works, you're frankly never, ever, ever, ever going to get to a true state of having passive residual income and true financial freedom, making more money without doing anything than what your lifestyle actually costs. That's the definition of financial freedom. So I urge you now, if you've been looking for a way of creating passive residual income without doing anything, without first having a positive cash flow business, you really need to rethink how you're thinking about things. And again, I'm going to introduce you to some really cool resources in just a minute that's going to help you create positive cash flow so you can pour money into investments so those investments can compound out over time on their own. Now look, if you're looking for help with step number one, and that's creating positive cash flow, then that's absolutely something I can help you do to start you on your way to creating truly passive residual income. Now, all you need to do is register for a free training underneath this video, which is going to walk you through how you can start your very own highly profitable digital advertising business and essentially create positive cash flow in your life so you can actually start working towards that holy grail of being completely financially free. Hope you've enjoyed this video. I'll see you on the next one.